I'm not going to bother doing a heck of a lot. I'm just going to pay attention to really what is it that he's sending. That's ultimately what I'm paying attention to. Now, of course, one thing that you can always do is kind of give yourself some advantage, is go ahead and get whatever kind of advantage of bonus you can get. I would say more than likely this guy's going to send infantry. But we'll see. Yet to be seen exactly. Based on the speed, that looks a little quick. It's feeling like cav to me. Just based on the march speed. I'm leaning towards probably cav. I'll go ahead and get our help and support here real fast. Oh yeah, we got 3 minutes on the march. Definitely looks like it's gonna be cav to me. So we'll swap to cav counter here very shortly. That march there, the Alban march, is really slow. It's just kind of sus. I don't really know what to make of that, to be in all honesty. But I will go. See how slow that march is in relation to every other march. That's what makes me go, I don't know. That's sus. It's very sus to me. Because if on the off chance that is infantry, I'm gonna get freaking blasted. If that's infantry, and in any great wisdom, you don't want to get hit. We'll go ahead and I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use some T5 reins here. So we're gonna get some T5 range reins. The main thing whenever you're trying to rally trap somebody, especially if you're trying to do it carefully anyway, you do not want to reveal that you are online. So do not hit the help button. Do not, don't do anything stupid. Let me put it that way. The less they know, the better. You don't want to give them any idea as to what the hell you're planning on doing at all. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send some reinforcements from my main account over. And we're going to try and do this in a hurry here. I think I can do it in a hurry. I don't know. I don't have that luxury. So like you can see, we've got 500k coming back, and that's literally all it takes to take a rally. Right? It's just being able to psych out what they're sending and be able to counter coordinates to it. Now you can see I had inf with terror spike, so whereas I didn't get really a whole lot of advantage out of that. So I could have made that more damaging if I had used this, but the benefit of being able to switch to the right familiar and remembering to do it is a very key and very important problem that I very rarely remember to do. And then I wind up forgetting, and yeah, and shit happens. So we'll go ahead and swap that back in case they decide to go for the counter. And they're more than likely going to, because, well, I have his leader now. So he's got some incentive now to Yeah, and this is what his gear looks like. He's 226 castle stars, mythic gear, but provided these are 6-star drums, and I've got a 12-star drum. This guy doesn't put a lot of money into Astrolite, but that's okay. That's not a big deal. Now, obviously, it could be so much worse, right? But being practical as far as trapping goes, it's like you never really know. How do you psych out what kind of rally that was and all that can be a mind game. There's a lot of things that on the opponent side they can do to kind of screw with people like me, which is to basically send a march that's slow, because then I don't know if it's imp, I don't know if it's cav, and I don't know if it's range. But because they're sending cav, I can see how fast that march is moving, and I can infer based on how fast that march is moving whether or not that is cavalry, range, or infantry. And that's a very crucial element in trapping that, frankly, it goes without saying, but a lot of people, I guess, especially fillers, do not seem to understand this concept. And it is so blatantly easy to be on the defender's side like this and replicate and reproduce that same preventable result over and over and over again. Now, granted, I've only dropped 8 mil. And this guy, with a rally like that, he lost his lead, and 73 million is shaved off. Yeah, and out of that 73 million, it's like that's really all there is to it, right? But ultimately, if you're really wanting to maximize the amount of stats you get, like here I've got 30, right? I could have gone one step further, popped an army attack boost, and got another 50 on top of that. I could kill this guy's leader and get an altar boost, okay? And then I've got 38%, and if I grab another leader, that's another 30 on top of that. And there's a lot of little places like that you can nitpick to really maximize your bonuses. Like one thing that I will point out is that, like with Eternal Flame, that's another 10%. If you're willing to nitpick, you can get some bonuses there. Of course, if you're wondering what my gear looks like, this is what my gear looks like. Not the best, but it's not the worst either. Okay, I went with mitts mainly because I just happen to have mitts at the time. If I had codex, I might even use codex, but having mitts is really good in a trap. It's not so great if you're attacking, but it's good for it's good for a trap. It's not a bad thing to have, And of course, Blight Rings, definitely a fave. I would very much rather not have a Fear Drum in here. I would actually much rather have either the Rowdy Resolve or the Polar Ring, just because the amount of attack stats that I'm getting out of it. The Polar Ring would really be really good, actually. If I could get a Polar Ring up, like I can in Ambrosial, those two in tandem together would make a very lethal combination. Getting strides is really more of an economically safe way to play champ. You can get a pair of Lego strides for really cheap, on the cheap. But the main thing is the jewels. The jewels are the most expensive part here, because that is, that tacks up a lot of attack stats in most people's gears. You will find that without those, you're going to struggle, and you'll notice that even though I don't have an attack jewel in each of these, I'm actually getting a lot of nice good stat bonuses where I can. Like I'm getting HP in places where I can, but mostly trying to buff up those stats as much as possible, because that's just what you got, and that's what you got to deal with. Now, if you're wondering, yes, I took that in economy talents, which is another thing. Okay, if I had been smart, I would have swapped to trap talents. So I made that a little weaker just by not having trap talents on. Had I had trap talents on, that rally would have gone a lot smoother, but to be honest with you, it happens when I'm not, if I'm sitting here explaining to you guys how to trap, now you know what to look for and what not to look for. Mistakes happen, right? You make mistakes like these. A lot of people would call them early, easy mistakes. In fact, even some people will click on this building here to go to the Watchtower as opposed to click up at the top. There's many ways to skin a cat. It's just, how do you want to go about skinning that cat, and I don't know, it's a saying, but it's a weird saying, and now that I say that saying, it sounds weird. Well, anyway, so the main thing is once you've gotten your gear all up to par and you've got your familiars up to par, then the only other couple of places people will start to nitpick is artifacts. Artifacts, I think you can really nitpick by saying that pretty much get all of your leader bonus, anything that gives you basically attack just for having your lead or just having core stats. The ones that I don't bother with yet are Battle Fury. Those are the ones that I would rather dump all of the other stuff into after I've got the leader and the cores done. Because once I do the cores and those, I'm going to get 10-20% by the time I'll even begin to bother with Fury. And of course you get more bonuses and stuff like that for tacking on Fury stats. But there's almost no reason not to try and take advantage of that where you can possible. It's one of those things that, there's more than one way to go about it. Now, if you might notice that I have, for the total number of buildings, okay, I've got about 6 manors to the rest infirmary. And the only reason that is because you got to be somewhat, flexible with building and rebuilding troops. That it's not uncommon to be like, yes, I've lost a bunch of troops now. I need to heal. I need to do this. I got to go back and rebuild, and I got to do this and rebuild and rinse and repeat. It's a constant battle. Now, even though I lost as much as I did, you can kind of see how this is really not doing that bad, because I've got a little over 600 there and about another 800 there sitting in waiting to basically return everything I lost. But the thing is that doesn't really apply for the attackers. So the 927 some odd thousand they lost is permanently gone. There's no undo button for that. You don't get anything for being an attacker in this game. So attacking is just, it does not do you any favors. So that said, with everything else that I've told you, as far as, buffing up your stats, as far as wall heroes, one thing I could have probably done, like right now my wall is down, I could pop this, and just by popping that's going to help considerably. It actually makes a difference. And so it's one of those things that, if you're wanting to be advantageous about it, that's one way to go about it. Now, like this guy here, chances are they more than likely caught onto the fact that my gear was on. Because that, 4 to 5 seconds of the march walking is a lot of time spent for them to be able to see the gear. You give yourself enough time, and frankly, you're going to make it too easy for your opponent to know that you're online. And once this happens, I usually say the jig is up. So I'm going to turn on my help. So I'm just, at this point, they know that I'm online. And I have no problem having them know that they just got. And that's really, I think, the best way to go about trapping this game. It's like, to be practical, though, I think, whether or not should you do the counter research, I think it's a big plus to have it. Having 30 to 40%. And, funny enough, it's like, even though I was not in counter for that completely as well as I could have been as far as the trap stats go, because without that, right? And this is one thing that's a fun fact. It's a little thing that it really helps a lot if you didn't know about it, is just go to mixed stages and then click on this icon here. And then you can actually really easily figure out what that stat would have looked like. So here I have, my gear. I got all that on, right? This is currently, if I was taking it, I took it in 406, 445, 410. 217, 205, 217, 189, 335, and 224. That's still not bad, right? Having the leader deployed and all that jazz. But now, had I had my talents on, okay, and that's a that's a big thing here, okay. Had I had my talents on, that's the big oopsie there, okay. It's one of those whoops, happens, but I don't know. I'm a little careless, I think, is my problem. We'll go ahead and buff all of these, and then go ahead and get these here real quick. And I'm just matching what I normally do. I just don't even bother with the range at the bottom for the last two. But basically now, if you look at my stats here, you'll notice now I'm at 470, 506, 473. And then 194 and 423. There's a super bunch amounts of HP there, and a lot of attack stat there that I lost, not having that on. Like, the trap talents make a pretty big deal here. Like, you can't forget the trap talents, like I just did. You lose the trap talents, you're losing out on a lot of extra attack stats there that you probably could use. Now, given that this guy's leader is out, the most natural thing you could do in this situation is actually scout him. So, like, I could go over, scout him right now, see if he's see if he's got a comp available. He does not. But, something you can do is basically grab that lead, and then that's legendary. It's like that's super advantageous if you can get it. But of course, I don't know. I'm doing this on my main, and of course, you guys don't actually see what I'm doing by main. My bad. But yeah. Now this guy's probably a little triggered, but that's okay. Of course, we got Guild Bash going on and everything, and that's just kind of that. But ultimately, I hope that, with the few tips that I've given you as far as trapping goes, this is pretty much how it's done. With a couple of tweaks, I guess, I think a person could defend in cavalry. I really do. I think it's possible. If you're getting an Infomarch sent at you, I think I can make a cav wedge work. Maybe. I really do. Because the only reason why I feel like I'm not doing as well is really got something to do with the fact that I don't have either enough cav heroes sitting on that particular wall. I don't have enough cav HP getting buffed to it. Because, prior to this, I really I wasn't using Child of White. And that was a big mistake. And I think there's some other bonuses in the cav department that I could be getting from familiars that I don't have. And with a little bit of tweaking, it's like anybody can make these things happen. It's just you got to be conscious of them and be able to make those tweaks and make those changes as quick as possible. Well, one thing that is, it doesn't get mentioned a whole lot is you need a lot of bagged resources. You don't want to run out of resources, obviously, because, well, as a trap, you're going to find yourself having a really hard time. Now, if you're wondering what does my research actually look like, honestly, mimic a solo trap. The rules for a solo trap and a rally trap are pretty much the same. You need to not have a lot of research might. Do not do anything unnecessarily. I think a person can finish the military tree as a rally trap. But as a solo trap, you obviously don't go past T4. Because that keeps you in the 180 range, and that's really preferable. But, I'm just going to slide through these real fast so you can kind of get an idea of just what I did, in case you just want to mimic this for yourself. But ultimately, this, as you can see, I didn't even bother doing these. Some people are like, oh, why didn't you do that? It's like, well, that's only 10%. I don't need the extra might for 10%. That's stupid. 30, 40% for 20 mils, that's a good deal. But, I don't need 10, 20 for 10. That's stupid. And of course, I'm debating on whether or not should I go so far as to get, down the familiar battles tree. Because the only benefit I get out of this is another 10%. But what is more important is the slot itself. The slot itself here, while 2 mil here, it's probably another 20 mil or so just to get through this, I have a feeling. And so it's like, is that worth it? I don't know. That fourth slot might be the difference between having someone that can do subpar damage and having Divine Fire on top of what I've already have could make that much of a difference, And so you start to really consider, what other advantages are you willing to accept? And it's all in the sake of core might, It's like, of course, you can also, not even bother with, wonder battles or gear. But even T5 was a question, It's like, well, how much might do you get with T5? Well, obviously too much. So, people are even talking about, well, couldn't I just build a trap, have a mil, maybe 2 mil T5, and do the same thing as this, and you probably could. It's just, you've probably got enough research might now that it's not worthwhile. And so that's why nobody's pushing for T5 traps right now, is because it's just too much might for it to seem worthwhile. And so everything else that I've considered so far is really going to be around that, and, with that in mind. Of course, the one thing that is kind of advantageous here is, oh, well, what are the odds? We have another rally lead. Let's take a look. So he's 1.2 billion. Let's pay very close attention to see what he's going to send. Because right now, we just took him in range. So we can see what this guy does. He might say, okay, that's a little quick. A little too quick. Yeah, he had range. He had speed gear on. Still feels like cab, though. Still feels like cab. But we'll pay very close attention to the people that aren't in speed gear. We'll kind of try and target those people, okay? This seems slow. That seems like infantry. By the speed of that looks like infantry to me. So what he's doing is he's counteracting my range wedge with an imp wedge, so he's trying to burn me now at this point. Because this is all infantry he's sending here, it looks like. This one seemed a little quick, though. Yeah, good gear. Because I'm leaning towards it more than likely being infantry here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try that theory of mine, which is a calf wedge. I know some people are going to look at me and go, why did you do this in calf wedge? Why did you do this in cavalry at all? But we're going to try it. We're going to try it for the research that is my research. So I can't wrap my head around why a calf wedge wouldn't work. So we'll give it a go. We're gonna go ahead and pop that sucker out. Bring that quickly back. And we will very quickly throw my T5s and a little bit of T4 cav that I have left. I don't have a lot of T5 cav, unfortunately, on my main. But that's okay. We don't necessarily need it to be perfect. We just need it to work. Oh, 2 minutes on the clock. We'll see ultimately what this guy ends up sending here, but it's looking very, very close to infantry to me. But at this point, since I know what I'm up against, right? I know that I'm getting hit. We're gonna go ahead and we'll see now. I'm not even gonna bother. I'll wear my gear. I'm gonna scare the shit out of him. That's what I'm gonna do. That's ultimately how I'm gonna play this. Because I have his lead. So we're gonna go balls to the wall with this. Basically, we're just gonna say, look, you're gonna hit me. I'm online, and I'm gonna counter your ass. That's how we're gonna play this. And we'll see what happens ultimately. It just depends on what he plans on sending here. I'm leaning on it being infantry. On the off chance that happens to be ranged, that would suck. So, hopefully I'm right. Likelihood that it's ranged, though, is very small. Yeah, so there he goes. He cancels. So he knows. They didn't think I was online. They do now. And the only reason I'm doing that now, because I don't feel like having to deal with that rally. I don't want infantry, so I'm going to scare him to go away. Because I don't want nothing to do with it. But that, as you can tell, okay, doing what I did, the way that I did it, you can tell they did not even see the gear swap. All right. So had they gone through with it, I would have easily kept maybe a second rally there. But this is just as a demonstration. I don't really care. I don't care for this guild at all, so I'm not going to take it in if I don't have to. So I might as well just make it blatantly obvious that, hey, I'm online. So if you play that ball, you're going to get hurt. Because I'm not going to play fair. I'm going to go to the end of the kingdom. I'm going to make you have to carpet. I'm going to do about everything I can think of possible to annoy the living hell out of you. And on top of that, I'm not in fury. So if at any point I decide, you know what, I'm just not going to take your rally. I'm going to kill your lead, and I'm going to get an altar boost, and I'll just call it a day. It's like I'll let them frantically decide what to do from there. Okay, but ultimately, as you can tell with that guy, he's, they panicked. They panicked way too easily. He's like, oh shit, he's online. You know, that's all it takes, though. As you can tell, if you're a rally trap, you give anybody any indication that you're online like that, they're gonna cancel on you just like that. If you're dealing with bots, for example, which is not uncommon, people have dealt with bots in the past. If you're trying to deal with a bot, or you're trying to find a way to even bait in this game, okay, one thing that I can tell you is that, you know, wearing shitty, shoddy looking gear, wearing shitty, shoddy looking skins, and not having, an icon look like you're not really aware of what you're doing are all great factors, but one thing that you can't hide is like your troop kill count. You really can't, like, but ultimately, where I stand with the cav rallies right now is I don't want to take them, or rather, not the rallies that are cavalry inf rallies. I don't want to take the inf rallies. I don't want to defend in cavalry if I don't have to, because I'm not confident that that is going to work as well as I want it to. Until I get a couple of more things, until I feel like that cav will be sufficiently defensible against somebody like that. It's like, until that day arrives, I'm not going to mess with it, and that's just my 2 cents. But I don't know. If anybody's defending in cavalry and you're watching this video and you happen to know a thing or two about it, please let me know, because honestly, I'd love to defend cav against infantry if I knew a way to get it to work. But almost everybody has encountered a problem trying to do so, and it doesn't help that mixed rallies are also kind of plaguing a lot of the way people defend in this game now. Because if you happen to run into like a 4-2-4 or a situation where basically you're having to decide what are they in phalanx and you don't know and you're trying to guess, then you wind up having to make the best decision based on whatever you think is coming, which most of the time people take it in range. But it's really ultimately dependent on whatever it is you're gonna get thrown against. And of course, one thing that a lot of people do ask, I think, is they want to know, okay, if I'm dealing with like LH Maddie, I'm dealing with an Emperor, I'm dealing with somebody that's max champ, max astrolate, what do I need? What do I have to do to be able to put up a fight against somebody like that? And I really think it all comes down to, do you have anywhere near their stats? The closer you are, the easier it is. Closer to 600-700%, better off, much better off. Having counter research, I think, is a big plus. Based on that rally alone, even in trap talents, that made a significant difference to me. I can already tell. Just having countered that was a lot less damage, as opposed to having it not have it. It's like I can even tell you, I can compare it. Because I've literally within like the last, not that long ago. Okay, here you got a rally that okay, that one's pitiful. Let me find a one that's a little less pitiful. Okay, so like here's Inf Wedge on a Inf March. That's still not what I want. I want like a Imp on Imp. Damn it! I have so many Imp on Imp that I cuss so much. Oh, no, so this is an example of when I try to go cav phalanx, and you can see how that went. That's infantry, okay, and I'm getting those kind of losses in a cav phalanx. Now that's with the wall down too, so. As you can tell, it doesn't really pan out as well as you would hope. One can only pray and hope and pray, but it doesn't really do you very good because it just doesn't work. So it's like going cav phalanx is usually not a good idea, for that reason at least. Like here, and I don't think I have a comparison. Maybe I do. I don't know. This is maybe the closest I have for a comparison, and even this one, you can tell it's pitiful. Okay, because here I have 2 mil and then I lose a mil range. That's the big downside here. Because if you look at it, it's like, well, this should counter just fine, but yet you're losing 20 million troop might to a 78 million drop. It just doesn't make any sense. You got too many troops to survive. And your comp, looking at my comp at the time, you can see I had 1.7, 2.4, 1.7, and then 4 or 5 mil. It's still doable, but as you can tell, it's not very practical. But that was also probably back when I was like popping 3 to 400% rather than 5 to 600%. So, it's neither here nor there, but as you can tell, going Cat Phalanx doesn't exactly work, especially when your gear stats aren't really up to par. Now, like looking at this guy, you can see he's got 469 stars. He had Astrolite and he had Mythic, so there's a lot of things going horribly wrong here. Okay, but one thing I did get right here is at least I had the Cav drop, but I had it on an Inf rally. I seem to make that mistake over and over again. I always forget to change that. Seem to be a repeat offender. I'd be much better off getting Aquarius, wouldn't I? But that said, ultimately, if you're trying to rally trap, that is, I think, pretty much all you need to know as far as rally trapping goes. And of course, if you have any questions as far as like how do you go about trapping, just ask in the comment section below. I'm sure there are former rally traps and even other YouTubers that I can give you recommendations for. Namely, Duck Hunter Gaming. If you've never watched him, he's got some content regarding traps. He trapped quite a bit himself. So you will find a fair bit of information from him. There's another guy named Damo the Trap, and he's done a ton of rally trapping. So if you want somebody to watch more current rally traps on, you're more than welcome to take a look at him too, because he's got some pretty good stuff. As far as the other rally traps that I've seen out there, there's actually I believe his name is the Nag Trap, and he's got some pretty good stuff as well that I've seen. His content's kind of cool. He's got like a beard. It's pretty neat. If you've never seen it, I really highly recommend taking a look. It's actually not too bad. But of course, as far as the major YouTubers go, Worthy Prince is obviously, he's doing a lot more rally leading these days. I don't see him do any rally traps now anymore. But the main thing is that if you want a perspective from the rally lead, that's a guy to go to and look, because you can look at him. You can also look at Sneaky Tashi. Sneaky Tashi does a lot of high-end rallies as well, but I don't see as much as I used to from them anymore. It's just after the years, it's like it's grown stale, I think. But that said, with a lot of the other things, as far as how do I get enough gems? How do I maximize the most bonuses that I can possibly get? All that jazz, right? The only thing I can tell you beyond what I've already been telling you this whole freaking video stream, I guess, is that, if you're wanting to maximize your gem count, you really need it mostly for gemming T2. You don't need it for T5 or T4 or any other troop type. It's pretty much most of your time it will be spent getting these up to T4, 2 mil, and then the rest will be maintaining the T2. And if anything, you'll be building most of your time building up gem count for mostly rebuilding troops. And that, if anything, it's as you can tell, I'm not even hurting that bad, because literally in about an hour, I'm going to be right back to where I was. And this guy's gotten literally nothing other than a big fat L. But ultimately, now that they know that I'm online and that I've got my gear set up and they're aware, they're not going to probably do anything. And if they do, they're really playing with fire at that point. Ultimately, thank you guys for watching. If you guys are really interested in rally trapping, feel free to subscribe, because chances are I'm going to be doing a lot more of that, and that's just kind of what I'm doing nowadays. Now, of course, I do have a main account. I'll go ahead and give you a quick glance at that. All right, it's it ain't much, but it's it's a main account. It's it does its job. It doesn't do a very good job, but it does a job all the same. Oh, let's see here. I'm going to reload it. Oh, what the hell? I don't want to load up correctly. God damn it. Oh, damn it. Why the hell isn't it? Okay, well, there you go. More That was Discord. That's nice. Anyway. Oh, well. Poor Grimdor. Anyways, that said, alright, looking at my main account, you can see I'm 1.4 billion, alright? I've been playing this game for 7 years. I've been at this, it's almost 8 years now, okay? Don't even have max astrolighted gear or anything. I don't bother. I kind of cut off around 4 or 5 years into it and didn't really dump anything into gear. And it's mainly because I could astrolight these. I could go and do my jewels, but there's no reason for me to do that. One day I will revisit my main account and we'll actually probably look at that a little bit more seriously. But in order to do so, we need some help from IGG to do it. Because it's a little expensive to play this game, if you couldn't tell. But with everything else, that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna do we're gonna do this. Hold up. There we go. We're gonna do this. Da da da. All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys.